Hey everybody, I'm TJ. Welcome to the second edition of Smash Ultimate Countdown. My own little way of trying to make the time pass easier before the release of Smash Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch. As with the first episode, we're going to touch on the Smash blog entries from SmashBrothers.com, highlight each one individually, and infuse it with a little bit of my own commentary, and hopefully spark up a little conversation in the comment section. And make sure you don't let the countdown pass you by ringing that notification bell. If you missed the first installment of Smash Ultimate Countdown, I'll put a little link up there in the corner where you can check it out. I'll warn you ahead of time, it's kind of long. We did have a lot to unpack. That covers from E3 all the way through the end of June. If you're already caught up, let's get right into it. The first entry for the month of July is a character spotlight for Sonic the Hedgehog, the first third-party character to make it into Smash Brothers. Sonic's his name, speed's his game. This little guy single-handedly sold the Sega Genesis system purely based on how fast he could rip around those stages. In the 90s, when I grew up playing video games, Sonic was undoubtedly Mario's biggest rival. Sometime after the release of the Sega Dreamcast, Sega got out of the console business but continued to make games, and because they shared a very similar audience with Nintendo, it just made the most sense to put their Sonic titles onto the Nintendo systems. And that was really almost an unbelievable thing at the time to see Sonic even on a Nintendo console in the early 2000s. And then I thought I was living in an alternate reality when Sonic and Mario for the Olympic Games was announced for the Nintendo Wii. I'm almost embarrassed to admit how much time I put into that game. I got a gold medal in every single event with every single character. Hours upon hours. I even loved those ridiculous motion controls you had to do. That game made me pretty fit. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games built, baby. I'm just kidding. So then when Sonic was revealed to be a third-party guest character for Smash Bros. Brawl, I was just in a state of complete and utter doubt. I thought it was another one of those EGM-type April Fool's jokes where they make up some crazy thing like you can ride Yoshi in Super Mario 64, or ways to unlock all the old James Bonds in GoldenEye. It kind of had that Electronic Gaming Monthly kind of troll feel about it, but sure enough, it was true. You could actually take Mario, Nintendo's mascot going all the way back to the beginning, and face off against Sonic, his ultimate all-time cross-console rival, in the same game at the same time, beating each other up. If that's not a 90s kid gamer dream come true, I don't know what is. Sonic has been a special guest mainstay since Brawl, and he is returning again for Ultimate, which I think is super awesome. I know a lot of people out there are hoping for a Shadow clone character. While I can see how that would be very easy to implement, I'm not gonna hold my breath. Being a special guest character is a really unique honor. And while I do like Shadow, I think he's got an awesome character design, I think I would personally prefer to see an alternate skin version of Sonic with Shadow's colors and actually have Shadow hold that same honor alongside Sonic. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Keeping it in the Sega Sonic universe, our next entry is for an assist trophy featuring Knuckles the Echidna. If you're lucky enough to have Knuckles join your side of the battle, he will predictably use those amazing fists of his to punch your foes, and he can also dig his way into the ground and pop up with an uppercut. I think this is Knuckles' assist trophy debut. He did have a little bit of an appearance in Smash for Wii U and 3DS via the Mii costume, so if you wanted to, you could outfit your Mii fighter with a pretty decent Knuckles getup and hood. It was for the brawler, and depending on how adept you are at Mii making, you can get a face that's pretty close to what Knuckles looked like. In fact, I made one. You want to check mine out? I thought that was a pretty cool costume. It was much better than Tails in my opinion, because Tails, you had a hood so the face of the Mii fighter kind of stuck out, so you could never really pretend that your Mii fighter was actually Tails. It would always look like somebody in a Tails costume. So not quite as cool as the Knuckles suit. I really like Knuckles as a character. I think he's a perfect fit for an assist trophy. I'm glad he's in the game. Our next character spotlight is for Falco, Star Fox's high-flying pheasant. Anybody who knows me knows that I am not what you would call a Falco fan. In fact, he probably holds the unique and distinguished honor of being my least favorite character in the game. There's a few personal reasons for this. Number one, in spite of my best efforts, I've never really been able to get into the Star Fox series. Sci-fi really isn't my genre of choice. It really takes a lot for it to pull me in. It has to have a super compelling story, and the gameplay has to be really irresistible. As impressive as the game may have been in its time, for me, I had a really hard time interpreting where the polygons were in the space on the original Super Nintendo when Star Fox first got released, and there was something about those anthropomorphic animals with the weird robotic legs that kind of creeped me out. So Falco and I already got off to somewhat of a rough start, but what really sealed the deal is when I was playing through Melee and trying to unlock all the different characters, and I kept coming up against Falco, he kept using Chun-Li's lightning kick move on me so cheaply and so repetitively, and for whatever reason I had the hardest time trying to overcome it. But the computer's horrible abuse of that move created this deep-seated resentment in me for that character. It took me hours, I think, it feels like days when I look back on it, to finally unlock that character who I vowed then I would never play as. Of course, Falco would go on to be one of the highest ranked characters in the game. There's those famous videos out there of Fox and Falco facing off and they just being like amazing lightning speed battles all over the stage, people performing the most high-end professional grade skills, ninja class professional gamers going at it with Falco, but I'm just not feeling them. Let me know in the comment section below which character is your least favorite in all of Smash Brothers. And if there's a cool story associated with it, I'd love to hear it. If you're as big of a fan of Smash Brothers music as I am, then you'll be glad to know that City Trials is now available to listen to on SmashBrothers.com. All you have to do is click on the music tab and it'll take you right there. The Kongo Falls stage is back and it looks better than ever. You fight atop of a raft that seems to be wedged at the end of a waterfall, and there's also a little rock jutting out on the side that you can step on. Not a whole lot of terrain for some battling, but maybe you can get a little bit of extra reprieve to try to rest or throw some projectiles, or another avenue for you to be able to recover back onto the stage and rejoin the fray. The next character spotlight is for a character that I still have a hard time believing is even back into the game, and that is my Melee main, Young Link. I can't believe that it's been 17 years since he has appeared as a playable character in Smash Brothers. His first and only appearance was for the GameCube edition of the game, Melee, but when Brawl rolled around, he was replaced with Toon Link, the cel-shaded version from the Wind Waker. I really like Toon Link too, and I think that it was a good change. Since all of the handheld games were following with the art style of Toon Link, he was a little bit more contemporary, and Young Link's only real appearance was in Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. But because of how significant Majora's Mask was for me as an experience, I really appreciated extending that adventure beyond his own game and getting to fight with him in Smash Brothers as well against a myriad of other Nintendo characters. I did predict his return in Smash Switch Speculation with Amiibo Jason, but to be completely honest, it wasn't because I really believed he had a chance of coming back, it was because I had such a deep hope that he would come back. So of course, I am over the moon. I am over the moon. That moon. That game still resonates with me. It still holds a very dear place in my heart. I talked extensively in my E3 recap and also in the first edition of Smash Ultimate Countdown about some of the changes that regular Link has in Smash Ultimate. One of them being his bombs are now the remote bombs, which requires 3 inputs, and then also not having the hook shot gives him a standard grab. So he's distanced himself a little bit more from what we are accustomed to with Link, whereas I think that Young Link might be the closest representation to what we remember of Link, even though he is reported to be faster, which he has historically always been in Melee, and maybe he boasts a little bit less power. But if he still has the hook shot and his bombs are still of a more traditional variety, I think he might actually be my non-me main. Non-me main, because of course the Mii fighters are still #1 for me when it comes to characters I have fun playing as. Welcome back, Young Link. I'm super pumped that he is back in the game. I hope you are too. You can't have too many links in this chain. We have another assist trophy for you, this time in the form of Crystal from a little game called Star Fox Adventures, if you recall. One that kind of moved pretty far away from what we know of as Star Fox games. I did play that game, but for some reason, I remember very little about it. I remember dinosaurs. I remember feeling like it had more appeal to me than any of the other Star Fox games that I'd ever played, but for some reason it didn't really captivate me. Crystal, if you manage to unlock her assist trophy during the battle, she will come out with her staff and beat bad guys on your behalf. She also has a very cool freezing power, so watch out. And the final entry for today is another character spotlight, this time for the Pokemon Trainer. Another character who got his debut back in Brawl, but never really appeared in the same form in any other entry. The Pokemon Trainer comes armed with 3 starter Pokemons, well, the 3 starters in various stages of their evolutionary forms, one of whom, Charizard, managed to break free from the tethers of his trainer and be his own character in Smash for Wii U and 3DS. But interestingly enough, for Ultimate, Charizard is making his way back to the trainer, and they're going to fight as a team once again. I think this is kind of fun because if you watched the anime when you were a kid, you knew that Ash Ketchum had the most difficult time commanding his Charizard. He evolved a little bit too early, so he didn't always obey him. The idea that that would be the Pokemon that would defy the trainer and go off and be all rogue, I think is pretty fun. I always appreciated the Pokemon trainer from a conceptual standpoint. I felt like it was a really neat idea that they could battle with the Pokemon like they do in the Pokemon series. I did find the mechanics to be a little bit difficult to overcome, so I never really played the character a whole lot, and instead of needing to get good with one character, you really have to learn the playstyle of 3 different characters to fully utilize him. It's also really cool that for the first time as the Pokemon trainer, you can choose to be a male or a female trainer, which is also what you can do in the more recent Pokemon games. I think that is a really great addition, especially since I do have a daughter and she's very attracted to playing as female characters, which is not surprising, so I think that was an awesome update. So who do we got there? We got Squirtle, which is the first evolutionary form, Ivysaur, which is the second stage of the Bulbasaur evolution tree, and then the final one, of course, is Charizard, who evolves from Charmander, Charmeleon, and then you got Charizard, the best one at the end. I think that they nailed it in terms of Charizard because he is the most iconic version of that evolutionary chain. But I really think they mixed it up with Ivysaur and Squirtle. This is just my opinion, but I think that Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Venusaur are all really similar. They have the least change from stage to stage, and the difference between Ivysaur and Bulbasaur is almost negligible. Out of all 3 of those first starters that you get in Red and Blue, the coolest middle form is Wartortle. Hands down, Wartortle is the best. He's got those sweet wings and this curled squirrel-like tail. I get why they didn't go with Blastoise, because Blastoise is enormous. I would imagine he would move somewhat similar to Bowser, so he doesn't really make a whole lot of sense as providing some unique experience. But there's nothing that Squirtle does that Wartortle couldn't do, but Wartortle would do it with so much more style. I like that they have each evolutionary stage represented by one of these starters. But if the responsibility fell to me to make it as cool as it could possibly be, I would have gone number 1, the first Pokemon would be Bulbasaur. He's also the first Pokemon, number 1. You put him first. Then for the second one, I would have used Wartortle, so you got your second evolutionary form. And then for the final one, go with, of course, Charizard. Let me know in the comment section below if it was up to you, which Pokemon would you give to the Pokemon trainer? And that sees us through to the end of the Smash vlog for the first week of July. I appreciate you joining me for the countdown to the release of Smash Ultimate for Switch. If you need a little bit more material to tide you over, you can check out my cathartic goodbye series to Smash for Wii U. Me v Me, where Hero TJ and Dark TJ face off to determine who is the ultimate fighter, the final battle between good and evil. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty ridiculous, but it's also pretty fun. And also look forward to the grand finale of Smash Supremacy, my amiibo-based Wii U tournament that's been going on for 3 years now. I'm finally on the final episode. We're finally gonna know which amiibo is really the ultimate warrior for Smash Wii U. We'll see you next time. Thanks for playing.